Hi, this is Kerry with the November 2024 Astrology forecast. Let's start with a summary from each of the 9 planets. Of course, the Sun. The Sun reflects our individual expression and moves from the idea realm to the workshop on November 15th. Early November, we may be focused on social activities, performance, and collaboration with Sun in Libra. When Sun moves to Scorpio mid-month, get engaged for action as the rubber hits the road. The Moon. November sees a new moon on both its first and last day. Sun and Moon join in Libra on November 1st and then in Scorpio on November 30th, indicating that this month may feel full of starting over and reset buttons. In between, the full moon in Aries on November 15th shows us the light and the road ahead. Mars spends all of November in the watery sign of Cancer, forcing the powerful master of fire to slog and slosh through shifting waters of emotional sensitivity. This is a great opportunity to delve into emotions like anger and aggression, discovering the vulnerabilities that lie beneath them such that reparations can be made. Mercury bounces through Scorpio all month with a retrograde cycle from November 25th to December 15th. November is for deep analysis, doing the math, and communicating difficult things. Fixing things below the surface is crucial at this time. Jupiter continues in retrograde motion through Venus's Earth sign, Taurus. Give away what you don't want and feel the spaciousness of dissolving that which is past. This is a time for gratitude and humbly bowing toward our desire to become more than what we are now. Venus manages the relationship department, which could have been a bit chaotic in October. November 6th sees Venus moving into Sagittarius, invoking an exchange of signs with Jupiter through month's end, bringing a twist that looks positive and rejuvenating. Saturn has deliberate pressure, and it may reappear as he resumes direct motion on November 15th, adding spice to the several shifts we are going to see mid-month. Going forward, choose where to take responsibility and put your determination to work as you move toward your goal. Rahu continues to make waves and rock boats in November, with Mars's power concentrated in Cancer, where Rahu's gaze does extend. Watch out for water element with excess power and energy. Keep the life vest in reach and higher ground in sight. Ketu. The intuitive and mystical Ketu continues to sit in Virgo, receiving the expansive aspect of Jupiter and enjoying some movement due to Mercury's transit through Scorpio. This is a good time to uncover hidden clues and obscure information that leads to liberating solutions. For an in-depth analysis of specific planetary placements, please continue listening to the full planetary forecast. We have a new moon in Libra, Swati Nakshatra, on November 1st. Happy Diwali! This annual celebration centers around the victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. May the qualities of light, goodness, and wisdom fill you during this sacred holiday. New moon, new month. We see the moon join the sun at 16 degrees Libra on November 1st, marking our first November new moon in the third pada of Swati Nakshatra. November is bookended with new moons. We get our second on November 30th with the new moon in Scorpio. Swati Nakshatra sits entirely within Venus's air sign, Libra, getting the basis of the Venus energy, but with a twist of Rahu, the planet who lords Swati. A blade of grass swaying in the wind is a symbol for this small slice of the zodiac, giving the impression that the vitality and spark for life carried by Venus is what sustains us when the winds howl and the world churns. Libra is relatively quiet this month in regards to receiving aspects from other planets, with the notable exception of Mars from Cancer, the moon's watery sign. Let's focus on what Mars will be doing in November in the context of a long transit there, including a retrograde phase. Here is the handy Mars schedule starting in fall of 2024. Mars was in Gemini, August 26th through October 20th. Mars went into Cancer, October 20th, and will go direct through Cancer until December 6th. Mars goes retrograde in Cancer from December 6th through January 21st. Mars retrograde in Cancer, December 6th through January 21st. That's about 6 weeks. And then Mars moves back into Gemini in retrograde motion on January 21st until February 23rd. That's another month. Mars direct in Gemini on February 23rd, moving forward through Gemini until April 2nd, and then Mars moves to Cancer, direct, round 2, April 2nd through June 6th. So that's a lot of time in Cancer and Gemini. So this new moon is our first since Mars landed in Cancer on October 20th. We will have this fiery Mars injection into Cancer for the new moons in November, December, and January. Cancer is the sign of debilitation for Mars, and the specific challenge is the chief of the fire element who relies on clear black and white thinking to execute his strategies and actions, finds himself contending with an all-water environment, including constant shifting, requiring navigation of a flow rather than a hard-pressed march, and a forced immersion into the realms of feelings and vulnerability. Debilitated planets can be the best teachers during their transits or if they appear in personal horoscopes. They force an individual to work very diligently on understanding that planet's lessons in all kinds of situations, not just optimally. Think about an athlete who becomes injured and has to start from square one with rehabilitation and finding new ways to express power and agility. Mars energy thrives on efficiency, so the frustration of having to start over or function while disabled is big for Mars. This can cause aggression or wasting of power due to emotional expression through anger. With this in mind, knowing that we have a few months of this lesson plan, find an intention or goal to approach. Instead of choosing efficiency and brute force as travel companions, try inviting in unconditional acceptance and surrender, which is not the same as giving up, as you navigate the waters of the beginner's mind. From Cancer, Mars' challenged fire will be flowing by aspect into Libra, Capricorn, and Aquarius for the next few months. Libra is the site of this November 1st new moon, an air sign ruled by a watery planet hosting the sun and moon and receiving the damp, fiery gaze of Mars. Libra has the reputation for forcing rebalancing. As we pause in the low mental and physical energy that often surrounds new moon moments, let us take stock of what is lacking, what kind of fuel is needed, what can be jettisoned, and how the course is demanding a correction. With the unstable Rahu energy of Swati reminding us that sometimes it is our sheer will to live that keeps us in the game, we are asked to pause and find our balance again. Rahu reminds us that we live in a world over which we have little control. In moments when anxiety and fear threaten to overwhelm, use mindfulness techniques like breathing, moving, chanting, and meditation to anchor your awareness in the light that exists inside all of us and allows us to connect with others as well as divine source. Libra has a reputation for experiencing difficulty with decision making, as that weighing of cause and effect implied by Libra and the scales can bog down deliberation. With debilitated Mars throwing his gaze into the mix, we could be very torn between what seems practical and efficient and what our heart is telling us. There isn't even a black and white answer about how to handle this. Be aware and know that the unconditionally loving mother energy of the moon is trying to teach Mars something this next few months. Venus transits Sagittarius November 6th through December 1st. As if to emphasize that feminine Venus is coming into a stronger stance than her masculine counterpart Mars, we see Venus move out of Mars and Ketu's boggy sign of Scorpio and into Jupiter's expansive, positive, and fiery Sagittarius. This is a quick transit, but let us plan to flex this very positive stretch that puts both Venus and Jupiter into better dignity due to a parivartana, or exchange of signs, that will be activated with this Venus transit through Jupiter's fire sign of Sagittarius, while Jupiter is transiting through Venus's earth sign, Taurus. In the October forecast, we talked about Venus moving through Scorpio as a call for creative metamorphosis. The alchemy vibrations are strong and dramatic when Venus and Mars interact, including Venus moving through a Mars-ruled sign. There is a transformative, metamorphic energy that comes through Scorpio and through the 8th house, expressing the subconscious, watery side of Mars. When Venus moves to Sagittarius, our creative potential may begin to rise toward further growth and widespread expression. The Jupiter and Venus exchange of signs puts two positive, helpful planets in good dignity that will promote the energy of growth, expansion, connection, and creation. An interesting twist that carries forward the need for continued metamorphosis is that Jupiter and Venus in these signs also puts them into a relationship with one another that implies the need for healthy, hard work coupled with deep surrender that adds up to notable transformation. A further twist is that Jupiter's retrograde status gives us an even broader canvas for letting go of what we think has value, but which may actually be blocking our path. Saturn goes direct in Aquarius on November 15th. With both Saturn and Jupiter in retrograde motion between October 9th, when Jupiter took retrograde motion, and November 15th, when Saturn resumes direct motion, we may feel particularly unstable due to this abundance of retrograde motion, which, like the nodal axis, can bring forward unexpected and unstable situations that stir up our progress and complicate our existing plans. As we know, sometimes these complications can be traumatic in the moment, but in hindsight we see the necessity of the occurrence and can even find a positive benefit from the discomfort we navigated. Exacerbating the cloud of confusion that may be swirling is the presence of Rahu in Pisces, which is Jupiter's sign. With Jupiter retrograde at the same time as hosting rocky Rahu, our navigation and guidance systems may feel as if they are fritzing out. When Saturn stands still and then begins to move slowly forward through the zodiac until next year, he will be at 19 degrees Aquarius, which is the fourth pada of Shatabhishak Nakshatra, which sits entirely inside Aquarius and is ruled by Rahu, giving it a very unique flavor. When Saturn goes direct, the future path in Shatabishak shifts on December 27th, when Saturn moves into Purvabhadra, and perhaps moving all of us on a deep level from uncertainty into a new level of clarity. Use this 6-week stretch that we in the West call the holidays, that begins in mid-November and ends with the new year, including resolutions and new starts. Use the holidays as a way to build a framework for the long-term goals and projects that are inspired by your own desire. That is the Rahu basis coming through, figuring out what you like so much that you want to play it all night long. The Saturn part, direct motion Saturn, will help to lay a practical foundation for this wild desire, such that the path may be long and challenging, but rewarding and worth it. The house where Aquarius falls in personal horoscopes could be a clue as to what area of life this expression of desire may be related to. Planets that sit in Shatabishak will also be a clue as to where the next long and winding road will lead. Saturn's last passage through Shatabishak was from February of 1994 through February of 1995. This current juncture in time could be a completion of that whole Saturn cycle. Think back to the path you began to slowly walk then, and try to see how you might be at a point where you begin to walk another long road, or choose to continue even deeper in the direction you've been traveling, but with a new level of mastery that comes from the experience of completing an expedition. Full moon in Aries again on November 15th. While Saturn pauses and stations into direct motion, we also experience the full moon at 30 degrees Aries, opposite the sun at 30 degrees Libra. All 9 planets will be in separate signs on this day, which actually happens rarely, as the inner planets tend to clump with the sun, making conjunctions very normal in general. When planets are spread out, we can feel clarity and spaciousness. In addition to this, there are a few other interesting processes going on to make this November day into a point that we may gather our attention and energy in order to deploy in a new way. Sun and Moon are the central opposition on this day, with Sun in Venus's sign and Moon in Mars's sign, exploring the passion play from the perspective of the divine gallery. Another opposition runs parallel to this one with retrograde Jupiter in Taurus, which is Venus's sign, opposing Mercury in Scorpio, which is Mars's sign. Mercury and Jupiter set us up for the growth and education trajectory, so this time during mid-November may be potent in opening up pathways or gaining clarity about details. Additionally, we also have the Venus and Jupiter Parivartana functioning, creating a connection between wisdom and concrete desires. Finally, each of the luminaries is getting a push from one of the malefics. Newly direct Saturn aspects the moon in Aries, while debilitated Mars continues to push the sun in Libra for its final moments of that debilitation transit. Within an hour after the moment of the full moon, the moon moves into Taurus with Jupiter, and about 5 hours after that, the sun moves into Scorpio, joining Mercury. This full moon occurs on a Friday, and with so many shifts on one day, we may wake up in one situation and fall asleep in another, even if the situation is our own internal resolve. The sun transits Scorpio from November 15th through December 15th. After Saturn stations direct and the newly waning moon moves into Taurus, the sun pushes through the gateway between Libra and Scorpio, joining Mercury and entering into a month of opposition with retrograde Jupiter. let's remember that the metamorphic conversation during the October forecast was inspired by the inner planets beginning to transit through Scorpio for the season. Scorpio itself is transformational, but this year we have a triple compound aspect beaming in, with Rahu coming in from Pisces, Jupiter coming in from Taurus, and Saturn coming in from Aquarius. With the Sun entering the scene, we may feel as if the rumblings and premonitions that we've been experiencing have led us to this moment when we have to take the leap, make the plunge, or commit to something, heart and soul. With so much transformational energy indicated, it will be helpful to stay grounded as circumstances swirl around and within us. There will be clarity given by the full moon, but the road ahead looks bumpy. So expect for changes to arise as more information is gathered and the light changes, revealing different contrasts. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio from November 25th through December 15th. Adding to the shifting sands will be a Mercury retrograde cycle beginning at 29 degrees Scorpio on November 25th. And ending up at 13 degrees Scorpio on December 15th. This brings even more energy into Scorpio through December. The main interesting energy of this Mercury retrograde is that it will oppose very tightly the retrograde Jupiter transiting through Taurus. This dovetails two different relationship energies that are represented through the oppositions in the natural zodiac, which really fall into three relationship categories. Mars opposite Venus, Mercury opposite Jupiter, and the Sun and Moon opposite Saturn. The signs of Taurus and Scorpio encompass the Venus and Mars opposition energy, while Mercury and Jupiter themselves are transiting through an opposition. The overlay of these two types of relationship energy invite an enthusiastic analysis of passionate situations. Learn new ways to manage and harness the energy that goes toward what you are naturally attracted to. Mercury's total time in Scorpio stretches from October 29th through January 4th. Which could be sectioned off as a 2-month period landing at the end of 2024 that helps us dig into the nuts and bolts of our creative process, educational goals, or improvement of health habits. We can get a sense of what is growing and what is lagging, then disperse what has been spent, keeping hold of what still has juice. With spring 2025 looking rather intriguing from an astrological perspective, it may be good to streamline, lighten loads, release excess, and adjust course as we prepare for Saturn changing signs, kicking in a short Saturn and Rahu conjunction, followed by Rahu changing signs. The scene of this excitement is the sign of Pisces, which will also feature a Mercury retrograde, the transit of exalted and retrograde Venus, and the transit of Sun, bringing an eclipse cycle too. Here is the schedule for next spring. March 1st, Venus retrograde in Pisces begins. March 13th and 14th, we have a total lunar eclipse. March 14th, the Sun enters Pisces. March 15th, Mercury retrograde in Pisces begins. March 29th, Saturn enters Pisces, and we have a partial solar eclipse because of the new moon in Pisces. March 29th, mark that day. April 7th, Mercury goes direct in Pisces. After that, April 12th, Venus goes direct in Pisces. April 13th, the Sun leaves Pisces, enters Aries. May 6th, Mercury enters Aries. May 14th, Jupiter enters Gemini. This is a big shift. Jupiter goes into Gemini May 14th. May 18th, Rahu mean node calculation enters Aquarius, and May 29th, Rahu with the true node calculation enters Aquarius. So mark in your mind that that last part of May is when Rahu and Ketu are shifting signs from Pisces and Virgo into Aquarius and Leo. Okay, May 31st, Venus enters Aries. So March, April, May 2025, we see some serious shuffling in the zodiac's watery final sign, Pisces. By June, all three of the outer planets will have changed signs, putting us into a new paradigm. Jupiter will no longer be feeling the weight of Saturn for a healthy reprieve, but instead will be receiving the aspect of Rahu from Aquarius for the entire Jupiter in Gemini transit through May 2026. Exciting. Circling back to Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, it looks like there may be exciting times a bit down the road. Take this last 2 months of 2024 to deep dive, reorganize, cut bait, reorient, and prepare to sally forth in some kind of direction. New moon in Scorpio, Anuradha, November 30th. Further emphasizing the need to pause, assess, center, and readjust, we see the moon joining the sun at 16 degrees Scorpio in the very last moments of Saturday, November 30th. This will be the second new moon of this calendar month. Scorpio, as mentioned, has been an environment rich in texture recently due to the triple aspect coming in from the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Rahu. This has pulled us to recreate and redesign ourselves from the inside out, especially with both Saturn and Jupiter moving in retrograde motion. Adding wiggles to this new moon is also retrograde Mercury. Since Saturn did resume direct motion mid-November, this new moon moment, when both the sun and moon are resting in the fourth pada of Anuradha Nakshatra, which is lorded by Saturn, we could be looking at a transformational moment when we take that first step, which could be a quiet decision that no one else sees. When we are doing big, deep work, there is no hurry, which is Saturn's ever message. Take more than a few moments during this last day of November 2024 to quietly take stock, no wrong answers, of your happiness, your direction, and this is the challenging one, what are you excited about? Which garden do you want to grow? Scorpio holds the mystical, magical energy that ignites our desire to grow up and out. Anuradha, contained inside Scorpio, is ruled by Saturn and by Mitra, ruler of contracts and friendships. At this new moon, look at the formal and informal contracts you hold with others or with yourself. Study your desire to maintain those contracts and take note of what needs to change in order to make the contracts remain supportive and vital. The retrograde energy surrounding this new moon could be confusing, as it may open up too many possibilities. Stay focused on what you desire and what you want to maintain and make grow. Mercury and Jupiter, both retrograde and in opposition, join the sun and moon, encouraging us to learn from the past and reach toward the future as we rewrite our stories and seek wisdom from all quarters. Headlines for December 2024. Venus transits Capricorn December 1st through 28th. Mars retrograde begins in Cancer December 6th and extends through February 23rd. The full moon in Taurus, Mrigashira Nakshatra, comes on December 15th. Sun transits Sagittarius from December 15th through January 13th. Mercury resumes direct motion in Scorpio on December 15th. Venus transits Aquarius from December 28th through January 27th. And there will be a new moon in Sagittarius, Purvashada, on December 30th, helping us ring in the new year. Thank you for listening. Until next month.